and was only suitable for people aged 18 or over, will almost certainly have an adult theme, and might well contain sex or violence, which are quite graphic. It may also contain explicit language, including sexual swear words. Thanks for listening.
But here's what his revelation comes to him. He's kind of got all this stuff, like touching, wiping, mourning of the animals.
Not wiping, whipping.
Yeah. Also not touching.
I am dyslexic. I hope I'm not having like a stroke.
Do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
And an atheist almost always becomes supporters of eugenics and abortion.
A swine is hungry for nuts.
Jesus hates them too.
Satan is real.
Being a Satanist is an open declaration of revolt against counterproductive received wisdom and mindless rogue tradition.
Decapitate her head off.
We're done. You're done.
Obama!
Welcome to the Godless Revolution. This is episode 151. Today is Wednesday, April 5.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is when we're recording the show.
That's going to be our new hit. If that doesn't break the top 10 on the billboards.
And Matt's back with us this week.
I am back.
Yay!
Traffic was doable today, yeah.
But car
Dude, I'm
driving
telling you, last
wasn't.
week, I know Ryan called me a wuss or whatever, but I couldn't even get the whole entrance was backed clear. The highway was at a standstill, and the whole entrance was all the way backed up onto the road that is where I usually get on. And this was in Orem.
Did it have a shoulder?
No. Well, yeah, but
why didn't you use it?
It's where in Utah you can't show shoulders.
Oh,
it's also metered. The entrance.
Yeah, but a cop was probably busy doing something.
Probably. But
So
what
they
was I
want
going to do? The whole highway, I could see the overpass was at a standstill. What was I going to do when I got there?
Get a helicopter?
It already takes me 2 fucking hours to get here anyway.
We appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do. Seriously. Well, and then you had other car problems tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I made it. I sure did.
Broken hose. Tonight's show I'm excited for it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do a deep dive into the startling and disturbing world of Steve Bannon.
Yeah, a guy that's in a position he has no reason to be there, and he's scary.
But this isn't just any old deep dive.
No?
Isn't it? Right?
What?
I thought that was a good lead-in.
It's an awesome deep dive. Because we have a...
That's totally fucking left me out to dry there.
I don't know what you were going with.
Because we have a super secret special source.
Yes. Yes, we have a hitherto cited as unnamed source, but Alexander Scholl wrote all of the information that we're going to be presenting tonight. Or worked with him earlier today, going through all of the information, and I had a pretty good idea, had a pretty good handle on who Steve Bannon is as a person, I struggle to use the term human being, but just going through all of the information and reviewing it like all in one summary lump.
Yeah.
He's a pretty fucking frightening dude to have that close to the president and with as much power as he has.
Well, I mean, just the background of him that I had because the only thing I knew about him was Breitbart. Alt-right, and that was about it. That's how he came on the scene this election was with Breitbart and the alt-right, and that's scary enough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Then to learn his history and everything else he's been involved in, it's like, wow, how the fuck did he get let in this place?
Yeah, we'll talk some about that during our little breakdown. Excuse me, Jesus.
Oh, he's not here.
I have had the worst neck pain and allergies over the last little bit.
That's still going on?
Yeah.
Neck pain?
Yeah.
Yeah, my neck just got really stiff and sore one day and then got progressively worse for 2 or 3 days, like to where I could hardly move my head at all. I ended up going to the doctor and getting meds prescribed. So on tonight's episode, we'll do the first half of this wonderful article that Alexander has written for us.
Yes.
And we'll break it out into 2 parts. 1 part tonight, And because it's 2 parts, we'll do the second part. We'll do the
second part when? Next week.
You're good, Ryan.
I got the understanding.
Where's the gold stars? Where's my stamps? Where did they go?
Oh, I put them on my book.
Did you take them home again?
I did.
Did you put them all over your wall?
Well, I thought they were chocolates.
God damn it.
So
Fucking,
2
I
parts
can't
for 2
keep
weeks.
stamps or stickers around Ryan.
Well, if I can lick it.
That's why we should go to .com.
You don't have to worry about postage anymore. Oh, that
Don't
was
say
bad.
that until they pay us.
No. I don't want to do ads.
No.
That's terrible.
You say that now.
No, it would suck.
Well, I did wear my tonight.
I just went naked.
I
got a new bed.
I put the dog down on his bed last night. I don't have a bed, but the dog does.
Yeah, those are about the only 3 I think I hear everyone fucking do on podcasts.
Undies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, Outside Podcast doesn't do any of those. Well, they do some of those, but they also do like all like the sports, like the backpacking gear and like rain gear and socks and boots.
You know what's gonna be fun? I'm gonna go through, and when I'm editing this, I'm gonna beep out the names of those of those things. like it'll be beep apron, and the beep bed, and the beep undies.
Do you guys ever listen to Monday Morning Podcast with Bill Burr?
No.
He does undies, and like I remember, I don't know, like a year or year and a half, 2 years ago when he first started getting them. That one and berries, and he would just laugh his ass off the whole way. And he's like, I know you guys are pissed off that I'm not doing these good, but this is so fucking hilarious. And so then he started making his own jingle, and he's like, undies, no more sweaty balls, ba-doop, boop, boop. And he just like sing the whole thing. And I was just like, it's like not even part of their whole thing. He just doesn't even care. It's hilarious.
I like Bill Burr. He's funny.
Yeah.
So we will do part 1 tonight, and then we'll do part 2 next week. I want to make sure that we leave enough time to cover all of it, and that it would also be good because of all of the news today that broke today.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have the first part of the show, or the first part of the article from Alexander that we can cover tonight, and then have a week go by, see what shakes out from the shit that happened today, and then record the final half and provide updates.
Yeah.
To what we talked about.
My prediction on what shakes out, absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing's happened yet. No Republican seems to give a flying fuck.
Shart nuggets.
Well,
that's what shakes out.
Yeah.
I usually shake twice, and at least a little comes out.
A little comes out?
No, not cum. Just but like more pee comes out.
What are you shaking?
Oh, my dick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Mom.
Sound like a plan, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Because we got to give them some uplifting news, and I know Matt always has the happiest of news that he brings us to.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's a bad plan.
You didn't bring puppies and kittens and lizards and frogs?
Nope.
Oh. We have a little bit of housekeeping first before we get into the Steve Bannon stuff. Want to thank again Mr. Jason Stock for being on the show last week. That was a whole lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I had a whole lot of fun. I think there was still a ton of other things I wanted to ask him and talk about, but in looking at the timer, I was like, holy shit, all that time has already flown by.
Yeah.
And then I had to edit some stuff out to try to get it as close to 2 hours as possible for the regular show. And, we had the extra extended interview for the Patreon patrons, but shit, I think I could have talked to him for another 2 or 3 hours easily.
I know. When I listened to it, I thought it was really good. I thought he was a great guest. I was sad to miss it.
Yeah.
But it went really smoothly, and it was a really interesting story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's a really good dude. So I want to thank him again for coming on the show. We'll have to get him back in here and talk some more about other stuff. That was a lot of fun. I went to Vegas over the weekend and went into the Total Wine and More.
Yeah.
And spent way more money than I should have. But they had a whole section of Utah beers. And so I'm in Las Vegas and there's this giant like mural thing on an end cap with Jason's picture on it.
Really?
And, yeah. I should have taken pictures of it because the whole end cap was Squatters and Wasatch beer with this big picture of
which you won't see that around here.
Above all of it.
But not Squasatch.
No. It was Squatters.
They really missed an opportunity
Wasatch.
there. I was sad to hear that was not a portmanteau.
Yeah. I thought that was a little weird. And I mean, you could have done it both, right? The portmanteau of Squatters and Wasatch and still been like a Sasquatch.
They could have made a Yeti beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We received some listener feedback.
Yes.
For our episode with the Psy Babe from a new listener in West Virginia.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Coal country.
Hoo-hoo, coal. Hoo-hoo. Coo-coo-coo. Yeah, this is from Brandy, who wrote in and said, "Hey guys, so I just found your podcast because Psy Babe posted about it on Facebook the day her episode went live.
Thank you, Yvette.
I am now working my way backward through the episodes, which may not be the most efficient way to get to know you, but it's how I roll.
We don't even know ourselves yet, so don't worry.
Anyway, I've been a fan of Yvette's for quite a while now. I came for the dick jokes and stayed for the science, which is also backward. So I was instantly interested in hearing what she had to say while being interviewed by three heathens. It was when you got to the part about West Virginia that my ears really perked up, though. And in reading this email, I was like,
oh yeah,
we're in trouble.
She's going to be mad that we're making fun of West Virginia. She continues and says, my partner and I are godless heathens living in the capital city, Charleston, and we have the exact same discussion about this place and the people here all of the time. We love it here. We're both born and raised West Virginians. I came out of insane Christian fundamentalism as well, but that's a story for another day. But we are part of that liberal elite crowd that is a minority here. Listening to outsiders talk about our state and its politics has become quite exhausting, so when Yvette mentioned West Virginia, I buckled up.
I'm sure, yeah.
Understandably.
Your conversation nailed it. Are there plenty of ignorant rednecks who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground and wouldn't understand the legislative process if their lives depended on it? Sure. But there are also amazingly kind people who are hurting and have been indoctrinated by the religious right to believe they can't vote for certain candidates because of certain issues and be, quote, right with God, end quote. And there are proud people who've made their own way for generations, and right now they see that slipping away and they don't know what the hell to do about it. We all know that Trump isn't the answer to any of that.
Sure.
And when Psy Babe said maybe the next Democratic nominee would come here and ask questions, it really struck a chord. Today, our state House of Representatives passed a butchered version of a medical cannabis bill to send back to the Senate for approval. Over 70% of the state has been begging for medical cannabis for years, and it has fallen on deaf ears. We have the highest opioid overdose numbers in the country. We have twice the veteran suicides of any other state. We have outrageous numbers of cancer patients.
Yeah.
And the bill they passed makes it illegal to smoke, buy edibles, grow your own for medicine, and limits the number of growers and dispensaries to such tiny numbers as to basically render it useless for most patients.
I just want to pause for a second. I know it's hard when we're doing, but this is unconscionable, right?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about people who have served in the military and now have PTSD and are committing suicide that marijuana would help. And we're talking about other people who are cancer patients from working coal mines, which is a job nobody wants to do. Except in West Virginia and some parts of Pennsylvania, they'll still do it. They have cancer from that. Give them the fucking weed.
Yeah. Well, and they'll do it because
what do you care about?
There aren't that many other options, right?
Yeah.
So you've got all of these miners who were working in the mines and getting paid a decent wage. And then as we move away from coal, those coal miner jobs go away. Well, it's twofold. We both move away from coal, and there are automated extraction processes now.
So the numbers of people needed to do it, it's way down.
That replaced a lot of miners. So it's kind of it's a 1-2 punch, and a lot of these people are now displaced from their jobs.
But if this is what they're asking for, what do the politicians care? Why do they care?
No, they shouldn't. Actually, did you guys watch
Last Week
Tonight with John Oliver?
Yes.
He did a whole segment on
marijuana?
medical marijuana. And
I have not seen that one yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it was just this last episode on Sunday. And he talked for quite a while about all of the conflicting state laws and how they butt up against federal laws, how difficult it is for all of these businesses to get into business in the first place, and then how difficult it is for them to operate because they have to operate on an all-cash basis.
Yeah.
They have to pay their taxes.
You get like a suitcase.
Yeah, so it's really weird,
full of
right?
cash.
So, according to federal law, it is illegal to operate a cannabis or marijuana dispensary, but even if it's illegal, you still have to pay taxes
Federal
on
taxes.
They should have been called grass stations, right?
And he even mentioned that, like, the part of the IRS tax code is that even if you steal property that's now in your possession, you need to report the value of the property you've stolen as far as your tax. Like, that's codified in tax law. Huh. I thought that was really strange.
Yeah,
so you're saying I can steal a car as long as I pay the taxes on it?
Well, different branches of government, I guess.
Yeah. Her email continues and says the Republican leadership sent out a letter to its members using scripture to guilt them into voting against its passage. 70% of the state wants this. Those of us here who see what's happening are tired. We are infuriated by the lawmakers and big businesses using good, well-meaning people as pawns when our state could thrive. Anyway, I'm rambling now. All that to say, any West Virginia listener who gets it wouldn't be bothered by the conversation you had with Cybabe. It's just reality. We're a proud people, and yes, we want jobs back. Good jobs. Jobs that allow us to plan for futures and be charitable and subscribe to our new favorite podcasts. Wink.
Thank you.
I just hope the liberal elites will realize that there are some of us here in the shit doing what we can to change things for the better. Having difficult conversations, calling our legislators, raising hell one day at a time. If you've made it through all this, thank you for taking the time. You've truly gained a new fan. Have a good one.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brandy. That was very nice.
You have a good one as well.
It really does suck when they use religion as a scare tactic for its leaders and citizens to get them to vote a certain way.
Yeah, as a cudgel to nudge people in one direction or the other.
It's bullshit.
Or to beat people into submission.
I honestly have no idea why anybody votes Republican anymore. I really don't know.
I think a lot of it is just they've been fed a steady diet of misinformation. And a lot of it is just born of ignorance. I mean, you've got these poor miners, these poor people that are being put out of work, like I said, because of the 1-2 punch of increased automation and moving away from the coal industry. And it's all they've known. Yeah. All they've known is coal mining. They're so set on that's the solution to their problems because it always has been that they don't stop to think about, well, hey, maybe we could get some new training. And instead of chasing after this old, dirty, failing way of creating energy, we can get retrained in new technologies.
Well, considering that,
and how to install solar panels, set up wind farms, do all of this green technology stuff that would make the United States a world leader again in new and emerging technologies, help clean the environment, and give these people jobs.
Especially when a report came out, I think it was last week, saying that there is now more people employed in renewable energy than there is in fossil fuels.
I think I remember seeing something about that.
But as I had actually had a discussion with someone else once, there's going to come that time when that number's going to drop again because they're going to find a way to automate those processes.
Yeah.
Right now, renewable energy is such a new thing right now, and a lot of the stuff is being built by hand. They haven't automated a lot of it yet, but once they figure out the way to automate it,
it'd be tough to automate building the big windmills.
The building of them, they won't be able to, but they'll be able to automate some of the manufacturing, a lot of the parts and everything. Well, right now, a lot of those are probably specialty parts that, few places are making, and they're not making them with giant machines. They're making them, with big machines, but more by hand. There's more hands-on development in those things.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Always nice to have a new listener.
Yes, thank you for
the feedback from people as well. So
thanks for the email.
Thank you very much for that, for sure. I think we'll take a quick break here and be back with
getting the shit.
Steve Bannon on the other side.
This is Danielle Moscato, civil rights activist, trans woman extraordinaire, and public speaker. You are listening to Godless Revolution, and I hope you enjoy the show.
This was just announced. I just read it, so I can't confirm it's true, but apparently his campaign has taken away his Twitter. In the last 2 days, they had so little confidence in his self-control, they said, we're just going to take away your Twitter. Now, if somebody can't handle a Twitter account, they can't handle the nuclear codes. If somebody starts tweeting at 3 in the morning because SNL made fun of you, then you can't handle the nuclear codes.
Please stand by. The Godless Revolution will continue in a moment.
Here follows a public service announcement for the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast. Greetings, Americans. Over here in London, we are well aware that not all of you are loud, xenophobic, racist, sexist, religious nuts.
But many of your politicians who display these frightful traits seem to be quite popular.
Particularly a certain wall-obsessed, small-handed, best-word-using, daughter-perving, war-inciting, candy-floss-headed clown.
To those of you who choose to follow such balderdash, we strongly recommend not to listen to the Two Skeptical Chaps.
It probably won't be your cup of tea.
Otherwise, give us a listen.
Each episode, we cover any news or current affairs from across the globe.
Things that annoy or delight us.
That's 2 as in the number 2.
And skeptical with a K.
The wrong way to spell it. Cheerio.
Rejoining the Godless Revolution podcast now.
This comes at a very auspicious time because Alexander Scholl wrote this for us and has been working on this for several weeks now.
Yeah.
In talking to him, he asked if there was something he could do to help the show and if we wanted him to research anything. And so we decided, research Steve Bannon for us. Put some shit together that we can report on that heinous fucker, because that would be good. We could do a whole show on it. And he put together a pretty amazing package that I'm excited to go through. And I mentioned that it's auspicious because just today, Steve Bannon was removed from the National Security Council. There's some speculation about the reasons why that may be the case.
I'm thinking Nunez did some talking like, hey, you might want to move him because some shit's rolling down.
Shit's coming down the pike, yo.
I hope something happens of all this, but I'm really not sure anything will. But is it too much to say of Alexander that he holds a position that is credible for this type of research?
Is it too much to say of Alexander that he? Oh, you mean like what?
I'm just trying to say,
qualified to provide this type of information? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm trying to keep his secrecy, but also build his credibility as well, because
he gave us
he's not
the cited sources on all of this.
But he's also just not some slouch. Like he comes from a position of being able to speak with some authority on these things.
Yeah, of having some experience in doing some investigative work.
He should be an investigative journalist.
Yeah. I think that would be awesome. And this, I sat down with him earlier today to finalize and go through all of this information, and I'm blown away at how fucking amazing this is and how much work he put into this. But the breaking news today, and I'm just reading from the document provided here, says that as of 12:27 Eastern Standard Time, Bannon has been removed from the National Security Council. The Trump administration claims the reason he was originally placed on the council was in order to, quote, keep an eye on disgraced former NSC advisor Michael Flynn.
Which makes no sense.
No, not at all. it doesn't make any fucking sense. If they wanted to keep an eye, if they thought there was a problem that they needed to keep an eye on him, why the fuck is he on the National Security Council in the first place?
Well, it doesn't make sense in that way either. Well, that doesn't make sense, but the fact that Flynn's been gone, he resigned 3 weeks ago, a month ago?
It seems like years.
It does.
With all of the shit that goes down in this administration.
But if that was his role there, then why was he still sitting on that panel when Flynn was gone?
True. Current speculation is that major news will soon drop about the FBI investigation on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign and possible collusion between Breitbart and Russian active measures. Of course, Steve Bannon is the CEO for Breitbart.
Yeah, I thought he was the head, top dog.
This might indicate that the Trump administration is attempting to distance itself from Bannon. As of the time of the article's completion, no further information is available, and Bannon continues to be Trump's chief strategist.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, is Trump didn't get rid of him. He didn't say, oh, you're removed from the West Wing. You no longer have an office here. Pack up your things and go home. No, he's just no longer sitting on that Security Council, so he's still in Trump's ear.
And like I said, this happened today.
Yes.
Like the day where we sat down to record this after weeks and weeks of Alexander going through and doing all of this work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is like the perfect time to record this, but know that there's still a shit ton of information that's going to be coming in the next few days, probably before we are actually able to release this episode.
Yeah.
So, but at least it's very timely information as of right now. I mean, who knows what shit
the
will
way
be
things
fucked
are
up
going
between now and Monday when this is released. But in addition to what I just read, there was an update that according to the New York Times, this change is due to General McMaster asserting himself as the leader of the NSC. He will also reset the NSC to the post-9/11 configuration it had for the Bush and Obama presidencies. This should mean the Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Director of National Intelligence will be restored to their positions on the Principals Committee. It is not presently known whether the Ezra Cohen-Watnick, a Senior Director of Intelligence, will be removed. Cohen-Watkins was added to the council by Flynn, and McMasters wanted his removal. Cohen-Watkins appealed to Bannon and was retained. Cohen-Watkins was one of the White House staffers implicated in releasing information to House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes related to the Trump-Russia investigation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Cohen-Watkins.
Yeah.
If he is also gone, then we'll have a pretty clear indication that this was at the direction of General McMaster.
Yeah. And well, Bannon's going to want to keep people in those positions that he knows he can have control over, and having his reporting back to him to be able to report to Trump going, hey, this is what's coming down. This is how we've got this going. You know, he doesn't want people that are going to oppose him. He wants people that are going to work for him.
Yes.
Not think for themselves.
Yeah. I wanted to start us off with a little bit of a clip from Glenn Beck, where he gives us some information on his views of Steve Bannon that I thought were pretty good and interesting coming from Glenn Beck. Of course, Glenn Beck is not a fan of Donald Trump, so keep that in mind as well.
And we haven't heard from the Becky in a while.
That's fine. He's still a douchebag.
Glenn, I'm wondering, from what you heard about Steve Bannon today, did you learn anything about him that surprised you, or did it confirm what you've already believed about him?
No, it confirmed what I already believed. What is frightening to me is the lack of reaction from the crowd at CPAC. He dropped economic nationalism 2 or 3 times during that. He talked about populism and nationalism a lot. I don't know what Steve Bannon's plan is after he would burn down the system, but he has talked repeatedly about burning the system down to the ground.
And that will come up during our discussion later as well.
That's not good. No conservative would be for that. We are for conserving the Constitution of the United States of America. He has carried through on some of the promises that I didn't think he would. I didn't think we'd get a real conservative on the Supreme Court. This is a real conservative on the Supreme Court. So he has done some things that a conservative will like. However, they weren't separating that from the nationalist populist talk at the main conservative stage. Conservatives, they're telling you who they are. They're telling you what they're going to do. And we just seem to be turning a blind eye to it. Right now, we're left with a country not knowing who to trust, not knowing that what the president is saying is not true, but then saying, well, but I don't believe them either. Right. Where is the authority? You can't just burn a system down.
You can't just burn a system down. But that is what that's what Bannon is actually working toward doing.
And we'll talk a little bit and probably uncover here why he might want to burn that system down.
This is a little off track, but I just want to shit on Glenn Beck for a second.
Please do,
Glenn Beck.
because fuck that guy.
Because now he's talking about where's the authority. When Obama was doing it and had control of everything, he was a fucking dictator.
Yeah.
Who was constantly overreaching. Fuck you guys. Fuck you conservatives. What do you want? You don't even know what you want.
Do they want to be hyperbolic?
They want a person in authority. They want a strong authoritarian.
Yeah,
right?
but Obama was too much.
And he wasn't even an authoritarian.
That's a good point.
He was a dictator.
Yeah.
He was constant overreach, he all these executive orders. He's a Muslim dictator. We have this dictator in the White House. What the fuck do you want? Now you have a real dictator and you're saying you don't have an authority.
Yeah.
True.
God.
I'm just going to read from the piece from Alexander. Introduction. It says that much has been written about Steve Kevin Bannon. This piece rests on the investigative work performed by more journalists and political operatives than I could name. Other articles have focused on his past, his foul treatment of his many wives, his worrying bookshelf, or his apparent white supremacy, or focus on, quote, economic nationalism. In this article, I hope to weave together these and more aspects of Bannon to perform a deeper analysis into his way of thinking so the listeners can make their own conclusions as to the depth and impact of his philosophy and on the policy decisions of the Trump White House. Brief biography. Steve Bannon was born November 27, 1953 in Redmond, Virginia, and is currently age 63. He was born to a pro-Kennedy, pro-Union Democrat family with Irish Catholic beliefs.
What went wrong?
I think it's the Irish Catholic part.
Oh.
I think it's the Catholic part.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm Irish. Kinda.
Mr. Duffy.
It depends on the day for you. Sometimes you say you're German. Sometimes you say you're Irish.
Well, I got an Irish name.
So you're Gyrish.
Yeah.
Germirish?
I'm German-Irish.
Irishman-y.
I have some German, too.
There's some Irishman-y in there.
Like 10%. I guess I'm like 27%.
Many Irish. Bannon is regarded by his peers as one of the most educated, or at least well-read, members of the far right.
Oh, he's from Virginia, and he's far from the far right.
Well, he's read all the KKK handbooks, so he's well-read.
Well, he's been to college, though, and he's a far-right Republican, so...
Yeah, he has been to college. He attended Virginia Tech, earning a bachelor's in urban design. Next, he earned a master's degree in national security studies from Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service. He also earned a Master of Business Administration with honors at Harvard Business School. So he's got some education.
Yeah. He's won't deny that he's got good education there.
He's been edumacated.
He wasn't going to all Christian schools.
He started his career. He started his career as a naval surface warfare officer, and then as special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations at the Pentagon, retiring from the Navy as a lieutenant, 03. This rank is standard for a military officer serving a single commission to achieve by the end of their time served. So I take that to mean he did the bare minimum to get the thing that most people get when they leave. He didn't have exemplary service. He didn't.
Well, the thing
leave
about your
rank.
Your ranks are you have to be in for certain times in order to get them. So just doing one, enlistment, he achieved the rank that would be expected in one enlistment.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay.
All
So he was not dishonored. He was at least average to above.
Yeah. He shows
was
that
very normal.
Yeah. Very normal. Yeah.
You did fine, Bannon. Just fine.
Yeah.
Following his time in the military, Bannon became an investment banker with Goldman Sachs. Just the kind of guy that you want to drain the swamp with.
Yeah, I thought he was. That's kind of swampy.
While his position was vice president, an article written by a former Goldman Sachs employee in Bloomberg claims that vice president is a courtesy title handed out to roughly 1/3 of its employees, and of course they're not all officers. This assertion was validated in the court decision Sergei Alenikov versus the Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated. Despite having worked as an investment banker, Bannon has a nuanced and vindictive view toward the contemporary investment banking industry. In 1990, Bannon spun up an investment firm of his own, and among other less noteworthy investments, he eventually accepted a stake in the comedy Seinfeld, from which he derives much of his fortune.
I don't know if that was just good luck.
Really?
Yes. I thought that was very interesting.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, I hate Seinfeld, so that's fine.
I like Seinfeld.
From 1993 to 1995, Bannon was the acting director of the Biosphere 2 project.
Yeah, that fuck up.
You guys know much about the Biosphere and Biosphere 2 project?
No.
Yeah, I remember. I was big into the Biodome movie.
Oh, yeah? Is that the one with Pauly Shore?
Oh, shit. I think I kind of do remember the Biosphere project.
Yeah.
It was a failed attempt to test a self-sustaining, fully sealed environment for humans and other flora and fauna. While directing the project, 2 former crew members of the Biosphere forced open an airlock in an attempt to warn the current crew about Bannon's threat to their safety. The former crew members had previously delivered Bannon a 5-page summary on the risks to the present crew, which, in a 1996 lawsuit, Bannon testified that he promised to, quote, shove down her fucking throat. He also called one of the former crew members, Abigail Alling, quote, self-centered, deluded young woman and a bimbo.
You remember the movie Biodome at all?
I remember it had Pauly Shore in it.
Well, there was the one scientist that went crazy and went against all the other people in the Biodome. And they started making like grenades out of coconuts and shit.
Did that also have Brendan Fraser?
Oh, maybe.
Yes.
I don't know, but I do not like that guy.
Iceman.
No, it wasn't Brendan Fraser. It wasn't Brendan Fraser.
I should say he's a nice enough guy, but he just, as an actor, he's so cheesy. It's
Fraser?
Well,
yeah.
I can just see Bannon being the crazy guy that was in there trying to make it work no matter what the fuck was going to happen.
Right.
And hating his crew.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the lawsuit, the court ruled in favor of the former crew members, awarding them about $600,000, though they were required to pay about $50,000 for damages caused to the Biosphere. The Biosphere 2 project, like its predecessor, failed famously.
That's probably why I remember it, because it failed famously. it really did.
Yeah, as I was reading through this earlier and working with Alexander back and forth, I started reading up on a bunch of the stuff that he's got included in here. And Biosphere 2 had problems with both the oxygen levels dropping, the CO2 levels rising. Every single insect in there that they started out with, every pollinating insect died. They had cockroaches and a native species of ant who accidentally got trapped in the biosphere just proliferated. So they were inundated with cockroaches and ants. And morning glory started growing all over the fucking place and shading out the actual plants that they wanted to grow in there. And then part of the reason for the fluctuating oxygen and CO2 levels was sunlight exposure on part of the concrete structure itself that was acting as a filter and absorption pad for both oxygen and CO2. So the whole thing was it was a design flaw initially, but then they had a whole bunch of other problems.
Yeah. This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to The Godless Revolution.
Well, Mother Teresa was a fanatic, fundamentalist, and a fraud. She was not a friend of the poor, as she claimed to be. She was a friend of poverty. Preached it as a good thing, as a gift from God, something to be welcomed along with other kinds of suffering. Wasn't interested in alleviating it. Was a friend of the rich. Took money from the Duvalier family in Haiti, one of the most obscenely bloated dynastic dictatorships in history. Took money from Charles Keating, the man who robbed Americans blind through the Lincoln Savings and Loan. Stolen money. All to build convents in her own name. More than 200 of them around the world, in order to found an order that bore her name. This is not modesty either, nor is it humility. Doesn't exhaust my critique of her either.
The next rant will start right after this.
Hey everybody, this is X.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm Felicia. We're the Utah Outcasts.
3 out, unashamed, and active atheists living in Utah.
And we are personally inviting you to let us love your ears each and every week.
As we take the news, current events, and pop culture and give it a little twist.
A love twist, with consent.
And we'll be joined each week by a special guest to tell us what makes them an outcast like us.
Come find us.
The Utah Outcasts.
On podhell.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play,
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And on UtahOutcast.com.
We finally bought that domain off the kids handing out mixtapes in the mall.
Come be an outcast with us.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Bonne nuit.
And you're welcome.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Beginning in the 1990s and for the next 2 decades, Bannon devoted much of his time to document filmmaking. Documentary filmmaking. He most famously produced... Contemplative. He most famously produced films supporting Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin. He also produced Generation Zero, a film strongly based on the pseudoscientific generational theory of Strauss and Howe. This film and the impact of the philosophy underlying it on Bannon's thinking will be discussed later on.
Was it Strauss? And how?
And how?
I don't know how he Straussed.
It's also worth noting that Bannon is executive chair of the so-called Government Accountability Institute, a think tank responsible for the production of the thoroughly debunked Clinton Cash book and the eponymous documentary.
Yeah, you said that right.
Did I say it right? It sounded weird.
Because people in Utah say documentary.
Documentary.
And it bothers me.
Yeah, Government Accountability Institute is just not one of those groups that's like,
Yes.
oh, they sound like they're doing something great.
Uh-huh.
That sounds
smart.
Real thing.
It's like the Eagle Forum.
Yeah,
they sound like they're a great group.
Yeah, the Eagle Flag Family Faith Center or whatever.
And how could you be against a million moms?
Mm-hmm. Upon the death of Andrew Breitbart, Bannon was appointed executive chairman of the website bearing his name. While presiding over Breitbart, Bannon wrote editorials for the site and hosted his own Breitbart-affiliated radio show on Patriot Radio on Sirius XM.
Yeah, there again.
Breitbart and its nature under Bannon's tenure will be discussed further in its own section. After Corey Lewandowski and Paul Manafort stepped down, Bannon became CEO of Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Upon Trump's inauguration, Bannon was named assistant to the president and White House chief strategist.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, were both made-up jobs by Trump.
Yes. Well, I think it's funny, too, like, when I see assistant to the president, which I believe his daughter also has that title now.
Yeah.
It reminds me of The Office, though.
There's a bunch of Dwight Schrutes.
Yeah. You're not the assistant president, you're the assistant to the president.
Yeah.
He is effectively a co-chief of staff, and the level of power he has in influencing Trump's policy decisions merits a section of its own.
Oh my God. Steve Bannon is Dwight Schrute if you filled him with a bunch of fucking noxious gases.
I wonder what he knows about
just swell
beets.
him out probably a lot.
And bears.
From Biosphere.
And of course, there was a big controversy when Bannon was made a principal member of the National Security Council, while the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the director of National Intelligence were relegated to the non-permanent committee position. Of course, that all changed today.
Yeah. Well, plus to note that position that Bannon took was not a position that had to be voted on. He was just given it.
Appointed,
he was just appointed to it, and nobody had a vote to say, well, hey, he's qualified, not qualified.
This is my guy, Steve. He's going to sit on your panel now.
He's going to listen to all the most secretive stuff in the world.
Hey, you the one guy there that's been there for a long time, and you the other guy that's been there for a long time. You're not there anymore. My Steve guy now. My guy Steve. He's the guy now. That guy is Steve. He's gonna be my guy.
He showed me how to get the 8-track that was stuck in my car out. He's smart.
A final piece of background. In 1996, Bannon awoke on his couch after a night of drinking, which you would never, ever guess based on his appearance. His then-wife, Mary Louise Picard, I love that last name,
Picard,
was loading their children into a car.
I wasn't going to say it, but now I have to.
Okay.
Because just a minute ago, when Ryan was like, he's smart. Do you guys remember that episode?
Yeah.
we are dumb. You are smart. And they're like, but why do you want on the Next Generation?
Yeah.
They're like, we need Mr. LaForge. He is smart. He knows of things that will make us go. Anyway, and then Picard came up, and I had to say it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to a different show, I guess.
But his then-wife, Mary Louise Picard, was loading their children into a car. Picard would later claim in sworn court testimony that Bannon leaped up in a fury and pulled her away from the vehicle by grabbing her by the throat and arm. Terrified, she ran to a phone to call the police. Bannon threw her across the room to remove her from the phone, then smashed it on a countertop. He screamed that she was, quote, a crazy fucking cunt!
I have heard this story, actually.
After this, he left the home. Charges were pressed against Bannon for misdemeanor domestic violence, battery, and dissuading a witness, according to court documentation. Picard wrote of another incident with Bannon in her 2007 court declaration against him. She said that Bannon didn't want their twin daughters attending the Archer School for Girls in Los Angeles.
Why would he not want them to go there?
Because many Jewish students were enrolled at the elite institution. Quote, the biggest problem he had with Archer is the number of Jews that attend, Picard said. He said that he doesn't like the way they raise their kids to be whiny brats, and that he didn't want the girls going to school with Jews.
Wait, doesn't he now work with Jared Kushner?
Yeah, but he's not a real Jew.
He's just Jewish for the money.
Okay. Just saying you're Jewish gets you a bunch of gold bars immediately?
Yes, that's how it works.
Well, what the fuck? I'll be back.
You gotta work at Gringotts for a little while.
Oh, shit.
Bannon and his lawyer persuaded Picard that if she pressed charges, she would lose her children. Eventually, she was convinced to leave town. Quote, I was told that I could go anywhere in the world. His attorney, along with respondent, arranged for me to leave town until the trial was over and it was okay for me to return home. I left town for 2 weeks with the children and was an hour and a half away by car until the attorney phoned me and told me I could come back, she wrote. The case against Bannon was dropped when Picard failed to arrive to court.
I wonder why they wanted her to leave and go anywhere in the world.
Anywhere you want, just until we can get this thrown out of court.
Yeah.
A brief primer on Breitbart and the alt-right. Think pieces on Breitbart and the alt-right have been done to death. At this point, most listeners know what it is. The alt-right, that is.
Yeah.
In the event that you don't, here's a brief overview of the site and some interesting pieces of information that have not been broadly reported. Milo Yiannopoulos,
Milo,
everybody's favorite pedophilia enthusiast and polemicist, wrote an article on Breitbart called The Establishment Conservative's Guide to the Alt-Right. In this piece, he highlights what he believes are intellectual and evolutionary roots of conservatism in the alt-right movement. He cites, among others, the fascist thinker Julius Evola as one of their intellectual predecessors. He also co-opts the writing of Jonathan Haidt to argue for an evolutionary basis of humans desiring to withdraw to a stratified, authoritarian form of social organization. It's worth noting that Haidt likely wouldn't support this interpretation of his work. In his book, The Righteous Mind, he highlights 14 core drives of the human psyche, a sort of alternative Maslow's hierarchy of needs. While Haidt acknowledges that religion and authoritarian social constructs reliably fulfill the most core drives, he does not support those institutions as the best or most moral way to achieve them. At this point, Milo launches into a tirade against the so-called regressive left. In support of the red pill type movement, he mirrors the nanny state ideology of Nassim Taleb and attempts to dismiss the racism associated with the movement. He highlights the 1488 movement, a modern neo-Nazi movement largely communicating online with a vast array of shibboleths. He does this all while acknowledging Richard Spencer as the founder of the alt-right movement.
That's the guy you can punch, right?
No.
Oh.
It's the guy a lot of people would like to punch.
Oh, okay.
And one person did.
And yeah. A couple people
Two,
actually.
I think it's at least twice.
He got punched twice.
Yeah. On TV.
You guys know about what the 1488 movement is?
I do not.
So it is...
Bring America back to 1488?
No, it is it is a modern neo-Nazi movement The numbers here are key. So 14 is related to the 14 words used by white nationalists. The 14 words are, quote, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children."
I think I've seen this done in like the tattoos that they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you'll see racists with tattoos of 14 or 88 or 1488 together.
Yeah.
And the 88 is for the 8 represents the 8th letter of the alphabet. So it translates to HH, which stands for Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy, right? To make those leaps and those associations kind of sounds like Alex Jones type conspiracy theory nut stuff, but that's true documented stuff.
Once you started talking about it, I remember seeing a episode on Vice where they were actually with the neo-Nazi group, and the guy had the 14 on one forearm and the 88 on the other forearm, so you'd hold up his arms like fists in the air like an old-timey boxer, and you'd see the 1488 on his arms.
Yeah.
And he told the guy in Vice News exactly what it was. Now that I'm remembering, I'm like, yep, that rings a bell now.
Yeah. The Southern Poverty Law Center defines the alt-right as a loose set of far-right ideologies at the core of which is a belief that white identity is under attack through policies prioritizing multiculturalism, political correctness, and social justice, and must be preserved, usually through white-identified online communities and physical ethno-states.
What is wrong with multiculturalism?
It's destroying Western civilization, Ryan.
Yeah, but
it's tearing apart the fabric of our white ancestry, of our Judeo-Christian values.
Okay, I got an idea. All the dumb fucks that want to be separated from all the other races and multiculturalism, you can go get in the fucking coal mines.
I just want to say, I have two people as examples of why this is a bad idea. Lenny Kravitz, half Jew, half black.
Ooh, where would he go?
Beautiful person.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Bannon, white nationalist. I'm sorry, but I'd rather live in a world of Lenny Kravitz's. Okay.
Although, has Lenny Kravitz came out with an album in the last 20 years?
I don't care.
Oh.
What did Lenny Kravitz do for me today?
Yeah, what about lately?
Yeah.
His daughter's an actor. She was in Mad Max.
Oh. I didn't know he had a daughter.
Yeah. So
I don't follow Lenny Kravitz.
What's Steve Bannon's daughter done besides not go to Jewy school?
Watch daddy beat up on mommy.
Right.
I was going to say something worse. I'll hold back from that one.
Healthy.
So that primer out of the way, here's what's important to know about Bannon's involvement in Breitbart after assuming control. While running the site, it posted articles such as Bill Kristol, Republican spoiler, renegade Jew.
Renegade Jew.
Gabby Giffords, the gun control movement's human shield.
Oh, God.
That's a little insensitive.
And birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. In one piece, Bannon argues that the site has zero tolerance for radical and anti-Semitic views, while referring to the fact that he had Zionists write the site in the past.
That doesn't work.
No, you can't on one hand say there's going to be zero tolerance for anti-Semitic views and then refer to some of your previous writers as Zionists.
Who are very anti-Semitic.
That doesn't.
That's what they are.
That doesn't work.
He needs a dictionary.
Ben Shapiro, former writer for Breitbart, a Jew, took
allegedly.
His first name is Ben.
Right.
Took extreme umbrage with Bannon, arguing that he had turned the site into a Pravda for Trump. Especially,
he did.
Yeah. Especially when one of Breitbart's own writers was assaulted by Corey Lewandowski at a Trump rally, and the site took Corey's side in the dispute. Shapiro further claimed that, quote, the site was different before Bannon came along. It is worth noting that Robert Mercer is a key investor in Breitbart. You may have heard of Mercer before, given his involvement with a UK-based company called Cambridge Analytics. This company uses a method called psychographics to create extremely targeted advertisements. There's a bridge with this connection to the Trump-Russia case, but it is beyond the scope of this bio. So psychographics are things like you would see on Rednecks for Trump, right?
Yeah.
Where it's a giant truck with a flag waving overlay on it with an eagle and stars. It's all very jingoistic just appeal to
graphics.
Appeal to the psyches of
or anything in advertising where they look at saying, hey, this is our key market. What appeals to them? Oh, this color makes them think this way. This image makes them think this way. So using psychology to, get into your clients or your prospective customers' minds.
Hi, this is Yvette Dontremont, aka the Cybabe, and you're listening to Godless Revolution. You can find me at cybabe.com, at my Twitter account at the Cybabe, and if you've hunt really hard, you can find me at Pornhub. I dare you.
It seems to me that those people who have their faith, who believe so strongly in God, if they really believe strongly their God, they believe they're right, they believe that they occupy the moral high ground, they should be only too willing to sit down and put this not to the scientific test, but to the political, moral discussion test of talking about why they believe what they believe. Are you up to the task of explaining to the rest of us who don't have your hotline to God why you're right?
You and the Godless Revolution will be reassimilated in 3, 2, 1.
And this will be the last section that we cover tonight, and we'll follow up with the rest of the article next week. So that should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to see what shakes out over the next week and what new news is presented that we'll have to present to you as a present next week. Influential literature and figures. In order to understand Bannon, it's important to know what he reads. I'm not the first person to write on this topic. Salon, Politico, and the New York Times have dedicated think pieces to Bannon's bookshelf. Each has looked at a particular aspect of the literature's influence on him, but none acknowledge the degree to which they form a mosaic of white Christian fascism. I'll set forth in one major piece of literature at a time to construct his worldview. It is barely worth noting that he is heavily inspired by Edmund Burke, the father of conservatism in the English-speaking world. This is a major work for conservative intellectuals among the movement, especially for purists. The largest takeaway of its influence is that he disregarded issues such as human rights, social justice, and equality, instead preferring tradition. The Institute of Tradition, Burke said, is the vehicle by which societies weed out those behaviors which are harmful from those which have lasting benefit.
Except the interesting thing here is it's only tradition because it's based on those who were, from the position of those who were in power at the time.
Right. I was going to say it has lasting benefit for those who stay in power, not for any of the marginalized groups.
Yeah, exactly. There are no, well, as far as I can tell, maybe Ben Carson excluded, African-American traditionalists, because slavery is not appealing.
No.
Right? Nobody wants that. That's not what we want to go back to. So these are people who are pining for times where they had total dominative control of other people.
Yeah, and that's when they say "Make America Great Again," that's the type of shit
that's exactly what they mean.
Yeah,
where you don't have to pay your employees a good wage, or they don't have any protections from their employer taking advantage of them.
Right, industrial/Victorian work conditions with slave-like conditions for the employees. Yeah,
and when you could slap your secretary in the ass and drop things on the floor that she'd have to bend over and pick up.
Sure.
Yeah. Juxtaposed against this view, however, Bannon also holds in close regard a book called Anti-Fragile, written by Nassim Taleb. On its surface, the book is contrary to Burke in that it pushes heavily for painful, violent change. Taleb believes that big government or a nanny state prevents people from being challenged and therefore breeds an ever weaker population in a sort of anti-Darwinist ecosystem where the ill-fit fail to be weeded out. Bannon argued in Generation Zero that black victimization was the reason for the 2007 housing collapse due to dependency on government and the undermining of capitalism.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with pure capitalism.
So, it wasn't due to predatory lending.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean,
no.
He's saying that the victims of the predatory lending are the whole reason that this collapse happened in the first place, which is nonsense. That's bullshit.
Because they didn't. The banks didn't have to do that kind of lending and selling off of stuff. It was their way of trying to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, though, Auschwitz would have been able to run longer if it didn't have all that soot in the chimney.
If only they didn't kill the chimney sweep.
Bannon marries these two works in his opposition to the present liberal democratic form of government. When taking Burke and Taleb through his Christian authoritarian view, the liberal democratic order creates weakness, and it requires a return to the traditions which, in his view, worked for society to return to greatness. Social justice, human rights, and equality don't better a society, but instead allow the weak to persist. In a Christian government, he envisions the poor and infirm will be cared for by the churches, but not enabled.
In which church has ever said they would do anything like that? Because they got to spend money on that.
It's the shit like this where people buy into the narrative of fucking
the tax
Mother Teresa being a saint.
Yeah.
She's now a saint after basically allowing people to be tortured in pain.
Yeah.
She would withhold pain medication from them. She made them live in horrible
on the ground. Some of them have beds. They're laying on the ground, dying.
Terribly filthy conditions.
Used needles, spreading HIV and AIDS throughout them, and other communicable diseases.
But even that isn't traditionalism. What did Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a traditionalist, what did Jesus do with the whores, right? Or with the poor, or with the meek?
He helped them.
I can't believe you're fucking making me defend Jesus! God.
The means by which Bannon would achieve such a Christian state is found in his admiration for the Italian fascist writer Evola, an author who is quite literally only whispered about in academic circles due to the stigma surrounding his writings. Evola was a quintessential fascist and a traditionalist. He viewed major historical progressive movements such as the Renaissance, Humanism, and the Protestant Reformation instead as regressive, taking the West away from transcendental truths. He did not believe in using dialectics or debates to return to halcyon days, but instead to blow things up. It is also important to note the degree to which Evola was anti-woman, and not just in an anti-feminist sense. He had a deep-seated disrespect and hatred for them. So in other words, he was a true misogynist, not just a sexist.
Yeah.
Bannon seeks a traditionalist form of government rooted in Catholic-like authoritarianism and based on his literature and speeches will absolutely use chaos and violence as a means to achieve them. This is a man looking for a Reichstag fire.
I mean,
well, Catholicism has long been a fan of both chaos and violence to achieve their means.
But it also sounds like he wants to enact the Hunger Games. I mean, let them battle it out, and the strongest win and get to survive, and the weak get to hope someone prays for them.
Well, and it also discounts the fact that those in power generally inherit that power.
Yeah.
It provides no real means or no equal footing for people to climb the rungs of success into power. It just makes the people at the top maintain and keep in control the power that they already have. It's a caste
system.
Well, it's just like, I mean, and this goes back to what George W. Bush said, you know, like, I'm fine with a dictatorship so long as I'm the dictator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, that's anybody, you fucking moron. But that's how these people think, you know? They don't care if those things are, and this goes back to something that we received from a source earlier, you know, about the values of different political views. That's not fair. Who cares? Conservatives don't fucking care what's fair, right? They want authority. They want right and wrong, black and white. They don't care if you think it's fair or not.
Yeah, notions of fairness aren't something that they take into consideration.
Or at least they're lower down on the priority list.
Or their idea of fair is, well, you got equal access. You know, you can get a Ferrari too if you want.
Which is so weird to me because so many conservatives are religious. And isn't that based on an idea of fairness? Because when you say you're an atheist, well, what do you mean? You just mean that Hitler could do all that bad stuff and get away with it? Yeah. I mean, he's dead, but yes. You know, then all of a sudden fairness is important to them.
I guess it kind of depends on the religious tradition you're looking at. I mean, are you talking about
the stupid ones?
Well, that's all of them.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean, are you looking at Jewish religious tradition where, you know, unless you're one of the chosen people, you're not getting into heaven. There is no hell. Are you looking at more traditional Christian views where all you have to do is accept Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, and it doesn't matter what you did up until that moment, you'll be saved and fine and can spend the rest of your days in heaven with Adolf Hitler and all of the other serial killers that chose to repent or accept Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you talking about
Was I here?
Calvinists?
Yeah.
Oh, the Calvinists.
Calvinists.
Oh, where it's all predetermined.
Yeah, where it's all predetermined. It doesn't really matter.
That's a shitty one.
It is a shitty one. I don't understand Calvinists at all. But he's not just a Christian fascist, however, though he goes to great lengths to avoid endorsing white nationalism, instead preferring terms such as economic nationalism or European identity movements. Which is funny because he, I'm sure, is the type of person who would say that he hates identity politics. His many references and high regard for the French novel The Camp of Saints belie his fear and hatred for non-white, especially Middle Eastern and Indian groups. The Camp of Saints is a novel depicting Europe invaded by a wave of millions of Indian refugees fleeing some great catastrophe, engaging in orgies, raping and pillaging Europeans following a no shit, our writer is totally serious, shit-eating leader referred to as Turd Eater.
It sounds like something I would say.
That's the Camp of Saints is about Europe being invaded by tons and tons of Indian people carrying out orgies and raping and pillaging European countryside
and eating turds
and following a leader referred to as the Turd Eater because this leader literally eats shit in this book.
I misheard you. I thought you said it was some Indian leader named Turd Eater. I am Turd Eater.
I mean,
I come to rape your wife, Turd Eater.
Are we sure that a 5-year-old child didn't name this character?
Well, it's the author of the book, so I don't know.
Wow.
I wanted to play a quick audio clip here with Steve Bannon talking about the racist novel, The Camp of the Saints.
This situation in Syria just didn't pop up last week. You can't say it any other way. It's been almost a Camp of the Saints type invasion. Really, it's not a migration. It's really an invasion. I call it the Camp of the Saints.
Off of the apocalyptic novel written in France back in the 1970s that people said was racist and nativist. I mean, this is Camp of the Saints, isn't it?
It is racist and nativist.
Yes.
Kind of global Camp of the Saints.
We are in an outright war against jihadist Islamic fascism.
What we call this Muslim invasion of Europe.
I don't know how you call it any other thing, but a Muslim invasion.
This thing just didn't happen by happenstance. These are not war refugees. It's something much more insidious going on.
Motherfucker. He's saying that they're not war refugees?
No, I actually agree with him.
Does he? What?
Huh? There is something far more insidious going on. Yes, indeed.
What's that?
That he thinks this 70s novel is a fucking documentary that's coming true right now. That he thinks this is some sort of invasion planned by the Middle East and Indian peoples. Fucking God, you're insane.
Turd Eater.
Turd Eater. Excuse me, Turd Eater.
That he.
No, I honestly didn't react to the Turd Eater because I was too fucking shocked.
Yeah. Well, and that he seems completely oblivious to the fact of all of these wars in the Middle East and all of the people being displaced from their homes in the Middle East. They're refugees.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
they have no home.
It's not that they're destroying their own countries in the hope of being taken in as refugees somewhere, dying by the tens and hundreds of thousands in order to secretly, not quite so secretly, infiltrate Western civilizations and European civilizations to follow somebody who eats shit.
Well, it's like people are proud of where they come from. People are usually, nationalistic about their home country. You kind of like where you grew up. You like it. A lot of these people quite liked Syria before it went to shit and really didn't want to fucking leave that country until they were forced to, and their houses were fucking bombed and demolished.
Yeah, they're not leaving because their city is in great repair.
Yeah.
And their homes are still standing.
Yeah, here's the news, Bannon. India and Syria were civilizations while the countries you come from were still full of Neanderthals. They haven't been trying to come over here until now. Until after 10 or 12 years of our meddling in the Middle East.
Until their country has been reduced to a pile of rubble.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is something insidious going on.
And it's all coming out of this asshole's pie hole.
And from George W. Bush's administration.
There's something deeper when they see the potential of civilizational jihad as personified by this migrant crisis. There's clearly a fifth column here in the United States that needs to be dealt with. Don't we have a problem? We've looked the other way on this legal immigration that's kind of overwhelmed the country. When you look and it's got 61 million, 20% of the country is immigrants.
Yeah, no,
is that not a massive problem? We just got to.
What percentage of the United States would he say is immigrants?
Well, I would say 85.
I mean,
well, if you, I'm trying to think of what kind of time scale we're thinking on.
A biblical scale.
Oh, biblical scale.
99.
Yeah, I'll go about 99%. We kind of wiped out a lot of the original inhabitants.
Yeah,
of this continent.
does he think his Irish Catholic ancestors started here? Does he think?
Well,
Virginia,
but he thinks he has every right to it.
Well,
does he think Virginia is Ireland?
Well, and even if he doesn't think that they may have started here, he still thinks that they are better than the indigenous peoples, than the savages that were here before.
That's not a massive problem. We just got to figure out who is here. There's at least some portion of quote unquote Muslims that are,
quote unquote Muslims.
Yeah. What does that mean?
They're not real Muslims. So what the fuck is he talking about?
So you could just do that? So he's a quote-unquote politician? Well, that's actually true. He's a quote-unquote Christian. He's a quote-unquote American.
Yeah.
Really?
If not radicalized, at least believe in Islamic supremacy.
These are not Jeffersonian Democrats.
Motherfucker, you believe in Christian supremacy. What is the difference here? You're talking a difference in beliefs of which invisible sky wizard you want to follow. That's it.
In which way you've been radicalized.
No, but see, the difference is Jesus, not some Middle Eastern leader that started that religion like the Muslims. The Middle Eastern leader, oh shit, that started our religion.
Islamic supremacy.
These are not Jeffersonian Democrats. These are not people with thousands of years of understanding democracy in their DNA.
You only vet if you're going to let them in. Why even let them in?
Those given the high honor of admission to the United States should support this country and love its people and its values. We cannot allow a beachhead of terrorism to form inside America. We cannot allow our nation to become a sanctuary for extremists.
Yeah, because we've already got enough and they're
late.
Christian.
Yeah, too late. The White House is full of extremists.
Hi, this is Justin Schieber, formerly of the Reasonable Doubts podcast and currently of Real Atheology, and you are listening to the Godless Revolution.
40%, 45% of the American people believe literally in Adam and Eve, believe literally that the world is only 6,000 years old. I mean, that's a shocking figure, and you can't duck out of it by saying, oh, sophisticated theologians don't believe it. Unfortunately, what sophisticated theologians believe isn't really relevant to what the majority of Christians do believe.
Rejoining the Godless Revolution podcast now.
Yeah, the more that I read about this guy and learn about him, the more terrifying he becomes.
I mean, people say, oh, that kind of stuff can't happen again. We won't see a crazy person. No, but Hitler was elected. Mussolini was elected.
Well, dude, they were saying this in 2007.
Yeah.
That we'll never elect somebody as dumb and inept as George W. Bush. We'll never see somebody as dim-witted and ignorant as George W. Bush. And the very next time the Republicans got a chance, they fucking beat it! They beat it by a mile!
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for somebody who was worse in every one of the bad categories than this guy.
Yeah,
and they did it!
Right now, I quite like George
And it wasn't
Bush.
even in 10 years! God.
Bannon has also referred heavily to an author known as Alexander Dugin. Dugin has been referred to by policy wonks and national security experts as Putin's Rasputin. He is the author of The Foundation of Geopolitics, work that has functioned as the guideline for Russian policy as long as Putin has been in power. It calls for the dividing of the Western liberal democratic order, especially dividing the European Union and the Atlantic, think English-speaking, allied countries.
England, Ireland, Scotland.
Brexit!
Wales.
Yeah.
Brexit, yep.
We got Brexit. We've got Scotland thinking of leaving again. Dugin sees a battle between civilizations, a clash between Atlanticist and Eurasian powers.
So, how small are these factions going to get? Until it's just his little town on his little street.
Well, if it goes too far, we'll just be factions of small mobs running around fighting each other because we had a nuclear war.
That sounds like a libertarian paradise.
I mean, but just a paragraph ago, it was, the whole Middle East and South Asia. Now it's the Atlanticists versus Eurasians.
Yeah.
Okay.
He calls for genuine, true, radically revolutionary, and consistent fascism.
Ooh, that's a double fascist.
And it's radical.
Double fascisting.
Double fascisting. Nice.
His writing and Russian information operations, including support for far-right movements, has significantly increased the following of nationalist, nativist, traditional, and so-called identitarian movements, including the National Front in France and Jobbik in Hungary, to which National Security Advisor Sebastian Gorka belongs. Bannon's documentary, Generation Zero, demonstrates his deep conviction in the validity of the Strauss-Howe generational theory. It is worth noting that Strauss and Howe are neither academically accredited historians or sociologists. This theory argues that each generational cohort tends to share a sort of overarching personality type, which expresses itself in the policies and large-scale events the generation enacts. These personality types are derived from their upbringing, influenced by their parents' generation's actions and the external events to which they are subject. Sort of like generational racism.
Yeah.
And religious beliefs.
Yeah. And you can also, I would say, throw economics in there. If you come from a very poor family, it's very likely that you're not going to go rise much further.
For example, the World War II generation heroically rose to the challenge of World War II and established great public works. The silent generation and Gen X were largely overshadowed by their predecessors, and the boomers squandered their inheritance.
Yes.
In addition, Strauss and Howe predict that every 80 years or so, some great calamity tends to befall civilization due to the ebb and flow of the generational cycles of greatness falling into decadence and corruption. In accordance with this, Strauss and Howe predict in The Fourth Turning that the millennial generation, much like the World War II generation, will have to rise to a calamity set to befall us at any time.
So let's make that happen.
The Trump administration seems like that might be that calamity that has befallen us. I've got an audio clip here with a little bit more from Steve Bannon.
Come horribly off track in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we're starting now in the 21st century, which I believe strongly is a crisis both of our church, a crisis of our faith, a crisis of the West, and a crisis of capitalism. And we're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict.
I wonder what he'll do to bring that about.
Yeah. He's trying.
Of which, if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, to really be able to not just stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that we will literally eradicate everything that we've been bequeathed over the last 2,500 years.
Okay, can
he wants to start a church militant?
Yeah.
Can we have at least at a minimum, if we're not going to demand that our politicians have at least a high school diploma or some other equivalent, form of education or intelligence, can we at least demand that they pass a fucking mental health exam so we don't have all these fucking psychopaths and paranoid schizophrenics in the White House? Jesus Christ.
Well, if we can't keep psychopaths from getting guns, obviously we can't keep them getting into the White House.
Well, maybe we could if we didn't have psychopaths in the fucking White House.
True, that's why they got in there like, I want to get my guns back, but they say I'm crazy.
God.
Yeah, we have more people dying from gun deaths here in the state of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of addressing, making guns more difficult or more safe,
they want you to give them.
Well, and they restrict the legal driving limit of alcohol from 0.08 to 0.05.
Which proves nothing.
It does nothing.
It's all in an effort to save lives, though there are other steps that they could take that would actually fucking accomplish that goal.
Yeah, well, as my sister says about that 0.08 to 0.5 or whatever, they're punishing the wrong end of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I thought when the statistics came out, the people that traditionally are usually get involved into vehicle accidents, especially ones with fatalities, were like more than double the legal limit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I listened to an episode of Radio West earlier today, and I believe the number that was quoted on there was 0.12.
Yeah.
That 70 or 80% of all DUI actual accidents or fatalities are people who are 0.12 or higher.
Which is a lot.
Uh-huh. And that they did studies with people doing drinking tests, for both their reaction times and officers, ossifers, I'm not drunksing, and officers' ability to spot when somebody is intoxicated or.
I took part in one of those things.
Yeah, and they could not tell the difference at 0.05.
Oh, they couldn't tell I was drunk at 0.08.
Oh, yeah?
I had to
Years of practice.
Yes. No, I went in and they were giving us drinks and they would get us to a certain level of intoxication, then bring us down. And they wouldn't tell us what we're at or the people down there, and the people down there have to guess, is this person legally drunk or not? And when I was over the legal limit, like, no, he's good to go. They made me blow, and they're like, no, he's drunk.
He's shit-faced.
But they wouldn't let us get, like, obnoxiously drunk. They would try to keep it like a 0.08, 0.09.
Yeah.
So, right at the limit, which I don't think is horrible anyways.
But Bannon is firmly convinced that we are on the verge of the calamity and wants to bring it about in order to marshal the forces of what he believes will be a great movement to reset civilization. He hopes to drive this in the direction of his preferred Christian authoritarian government.
That's all I hear from this right now when I'm hearing this, and he wants to wipe out civilization so that way there can be a Christian rule. That's it.
It's all about Christian dominionism.
Yeah. Who else wants to do that right now? Jihadists.
Well, not the Christian part, but
no, but they want to wipe out
religious dominionism, yes.
Yeah, but they want to wipe out and put in their religion. I mean, it's just the same thing, swapping religions.
Right. As a trailing note, Bannon also appears to be willing to take from Russian communist literature what he needs in order to support a philosophy of radical social upheaval from the bottom up. He is frequently referred to the workings of Karl Marx, not to support his work against capitalism or his dialectic with Hegel, but his message of a people's revolt. He has also compared himself to Lenin in an interview, saying that he, quote, wanted to destroy the state, and that's my goal, too.
John Lennon, right?
I want to bring everything crashing down and destroy all of today's establishment.
Never mind, that's not John Lennon.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
This is the guy who was sitting on the National Security Council, who has the president's ear, who is like the number 2 most powerful guy in the fucking White House.
Yeah.
Wait, so maybe Trump's vision to drain the swamp has yet to come.
They need to blow the clog that's in the bottom of the swamp. They need to just blow the whole thing to smithereens.
They're
not going to drain it. They're just going to blow it the fuck up.
Bring everything crashing down and destroy all of today's establishment.
Yeah. That's fucking terrifying, man.
Yeah. He's got to put a nuke in the swamp in order to drain it.
I don't like this episode, you guys.
Like I said, as I was going through this, I'm actually a little bit terrified of Bannon now. Bannon has referred to the news media as the opposition party, a rhetorical tool previously used by Lenin.
Mm-hmm.
When Trump uses the phrase enemies of the people to refer to the press, it was likely under the influence of Bannon.
Yep.
It's some scary shit.
Yeah, it's not cool.
I grew increasingly uneasy as I went through all of this.
Yeah.
We'll take another little break here and finish up on the other side.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
Well, let's talk about a couple things that you brought, Matt.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
As if we didn't already suspect, a classroom is being used as a prayer room at Liberty High School in Frisco, Texas.
Ooh, is this the one where some other people weren't allowed to use the prayer room?
Give me liberty or give me prayer.
Mm-hmm. And it's recently got the attention of the Texas Attorney General's office. The office was sent a letter raising constitutional concerns about the room. The Frisco superintendent called the letter a publicity stunt and said the prayer room has been in use for several years without complaints. And in other news, victims of murder have never complained, so that's now legal too.
We've been breaking the law by tradition for so many years. Why change it now?
Mm-hmm. Resident Tim Boyer was so unhappy about the prayer room at Liberty High that he went to this week's Frisco school board meeting and spoke his mind and reminded politicians about the law by saying, quote, Liberty High School is not a mosque, it's not a synagogue, it's not a tabernacle, it's not a temple, and it's not a church. It's a school. It's a public school supported by taxpayers for the purpose of educating our children, close quote.
It's not a barn. It's not a car. It's not a shopping center.
Well, because this reminds me of another...
It's not a shed.
Another story.
It's not a truck.
Well, it could be.
It's not a farm.
How can it be a truck?
Homeschool.
Oh, right. Sure.
It's not a comb.
No, you can't homeschool in a comb.
That's comb school. That's where Donald Trump went.
Ooh, and he failed.
Or was that comb over school?
It's not a golf course.
He combed over the curriculum.
Yeah.
That was a really good one, Ryan.
I get one a year. The rest of this year will suck.
I didn't think that was very funny. Fake news. Fake jokes over here. Fake jokes. It's not clear how many public schools in Texas have prayer rooms or designated areas where students can pray, but they are in some schools across the state and country. Because when it comes right down to it, religious people aren't so honest and don't mind ignoring the laws that don't suit them after all.
The hell you say?
Because that reminds me of another story I had read that I thought you were going to be talking about, where the school had a prayer room. Well, it wasn't really a prayer room. It was like a empty room that wasn't being used by the school. And they said, hey, if you want to, instead of doing it, and like if you want to do it during your free time and go in there and you can do your religious shit, read your Bible, pray to your God, go in there. Well, some Muslims started using it.
Practice your magic spells.
Yeah. Some Muslim students started using the room as well to pray in, and the city lost their shit that the fucking Muslims were allowed to pray at school.
They're praying to the wrong God.
Yep. Like they ain't praying to Jabus. So they can't be going and using the prayer room set up for us fucking fine-ass Christians to use.
Fine-ass Christians.
So yeah, there was a big to-do about it because the Muslim students were using the room to go do their daily praying. They pray 5 times a day.
Well, how dare they really?
I know. Any more good news, Matt?
Oh, was that good news? I do have some good news. Salt Lake City, Thomas S. Monson, 89, president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and considered a prophet by Mormons, has been hospitalized.
Yay!
Monson was feeling ill on Monday, April 3rd, after attending the church's general conference last weekend.
Well, you'd think at general conference there'd be enough praying at him that he'd be doing just fine.
Yeah, you'd think.
Well, Jesus just saw how good the church is doing, and so it knows that it can call President Monson home now, and then someone else can step up and lead the church, and they'll do just as good a job because it's doing good.
I bet someone used the wrong 10th level binding spell in their prayer.
Yeah, they need a 12th level.
Yeah.
According to a spokesperson, he has received treatment and fluids and will hopefully be released soon. The Salt Lake Tribune reported that Monson remained in the hospital as of this morning, however.
Hopefully released from this earthly mortal coil soon.
Wait, he had medical attention and not just prayers?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing they would take him to a hospital at all, right?
So he used modern science to try to help him get better so he could go home?
He didn't need just a priestly blessing with the oils.
Yeah, they didn't dunk him in a vat of doTERRA oils?
Well, let's be fair, though, and the Mormons will tell you that they believe in both priesthood and taking the appropriate measures. So
that's not how this fucking works.
If you have a headache, you take 2 aspirin and a prayer, and it'll be cured.
That's not how this fucking works.
Yeah. While LDS officials aren't speculating on Monson's health, a successor is in place. Should Monson leave office, Russell M. Nelson, 92.
Wow.
A thoracic surgeon who since 2015 has been president of the church's second highest governing body, the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, would ascend to the position as Monson did in 2008.
Well, that's how it works, right? It's just whoever's been on the goddamn the next longest.
And he'll die just as soon as well.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, we're always going to have the oldest, most wretched person that has been with the church for decades.
It's like, look,
lead the church for 5 to 10 years before they fucking kick the bucket.
I was gonna say it's gonna get to a point where they're so fucking old, like, we get at least one dying a year.
Just this constant churn of dead church leaders.
Yeah,
you know,
92 years old. That's
the youngest guy is 84, so we're fucked.
Actually, Bednar, I think he's like 50.
Who's he getting in bed with?
David O. Bednar.
A
Bednar.
Yep.
I feel good that I don't know these fuckers' names, really, because I'm like, fuck you, Mormon Church.
I have them buried way deep.
Yeah.
In my brain.
Well, some of these guys have probably been around
deep enough that I mix up their middle
state.
Initials occasionally, apparently.
I know L. Ron Hubbard.
That's not one of the church leaders. Not the LDS church leaders, anyway.
He seems like he'd fit in.
Actually, he's no longer a leader of any church because
he's dead.
Because he's dead now.
And he used to live in a shoe, right?
On a boat.
Yeah.
And had so many children he didn't know what to do.
And then his uterus fell out.
Wasn't that old L. Ron Hubbard?
No, he sold the beans.
Oh.
But there was nothing in the cupboard for the beans.
Oh, that's the one.
That's why they had to get the beans.
Yeah. But you should have seen that spider that sat on the fucking tuffin.
Why wouldn't you just eat the goose?
I don't know.
Because it was way at the top of the beanstalk.
Yeah.
Well, you got to climb. Well, but then, okay. Sure. But you plant the beans and then it grows this big, like, where's the beans on this giant fucking beanstalk?
Oh, they're boulders. I just told that's not
beans
a fairy tale.
Beans don't grow boulders.
I was like, what?
No, but to you, because the beanstalk is so giant that the beans at the top are so big and massive.
Like
they're
you're
like
so
boulders.
Raven, like it takes him to the it's so giant.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about now.
I don't know either.
Nobody knows what goes on in my head.
Go. Please continue.
No. Sutton, England.
That wasn't a proper
Suttonly
vernacular of those words.
Suttonly.
I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't.
I think you mean Sutton.
Sutton. It is Sutton, England. Is that better? How's that?
I think that guy.
Is that a perfect
Crikey,
one?
it's Sutton.
Crikey, it's Sutton, England.
Crikey is Australian, right?
Yeah.
Do they do that?
No, they say blimey.
Blimey. All right.
They all say cunt. I know that much.
I don't even know what fucking thing I was doing. It's more like a cartoon voice than it was an accent, really. Christian who was fired after offering to pray with patients ahead of their surgery has claimed she was unfairly dismissed.
Well, the person, she was probably fucking forcing them to pray.
I offered, okay? I didn't make him do it.
Sarah Kuta, I'm guessing. And that's not a British way of saying cooter.
Sarah
It should be.
Sarah Kuta Kinte.
Oh, God, she's black.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
See, I was going to make that joke, but I'm like, no, I shouldn't make that joke because Matt might say that.
So I think you mean her name is Toby.
Yes, Sarah Toby. Kuteh.
Ah.
Kuteh?
Sure. Cool.
Kutakita was ordered to leave her position. I feel horrible about this.
It's just short for cooter.
Right. Now that's the best joke. Now that's the most appropriate joke. Sarah Cooter was ordered to leave her position at Darrant Valley Hospital in Dartford, Kent, following a series of patient complaints. They won't be able to listen to this in England. It's like, we've already started with too much libel or whatever fucking laws they have. You can't even make fun of another person without going to prison for the rest of your life. So, one patient felt Sarah spent more time talking about religion than completing a preoperative questionnaire. Just have to say, if you really believe that prayer is more important than your job at a medical facility, why the hell bother with a nursing degree at all?
Mm-hmm.
Any amateur can pray.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing wasting your time and money? Stay home and pray for everybody.
And everybody else's time.
Yeah.
No, in fact, if you think it works, please do it. 2 reasons. If it does work, you're helping everybody. And if you think that way, stay the fuck home.
Because it doesn't work.
And
Yes.
just do it. Yeah. You shouldn't have to be in that person's face, right? It should work.
Yeah, it should
just
work.
as well. The efficacy rate should be just as good wherever the fuck you are.
All she's got to do is get on Facebook and look up people looking for prayers to help their family member in the hospital.
Yeah. They place full page ads in the New York Times. Oh, please send thoughts and prayers.
Right.
That'd be a expensive prayer.
Text 704-776 to send a prayer.
Despite having been warned against such behavior on 2 occasions, she persisted.
Nevertheless.
Mm-hmm. With questioning patients on religious grounds. Following reasonable management requests, formed a pivotal aspect of Miss Kuta's contract of employment with the trust.
Toby!
There had been a fundamental breach of trust and confidence.
That's going to be an ongoing joke.
Sarah had apparently not learned from her mistakes and would not change her behavior. Mrs. Sarah's assertion that she felt compelled to continue to hold religious discussions with patients concerned those in charge. 8 complaints were made by, quote, extremely vulnerable patients facing surgery, and the nurse was sacked.
She was warned. So I don't know what her problem is. She wasn't in a church. She's in a fucking hospital.
Get in line, Toby.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we've already said it. I mean, she should have just fucking stayed at home and done that shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or minded her own fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could see if a patient asked, hey, would you pray with me?
Or if a patient said, hey, do you know where I can find somebody to pray for me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fucking solicit that shit in a fucking hospital.
Yeah. If a patient asked for, hey, do you know someone that could pray with me, or would you pray with me? And then she did and obliged the patient and pray with them.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'll find a chaplain.
Yeah.
But I'm a nurse.
Right. That's not in my job description.
Right. Whether I'm religious or not doesn't matter, because right now I'm a nurse.
Right.
Because even me as an atheist and an EMT, if someone was fucking needing help in a time and like, okay, they're stable, and they was like, oh, could you pray with me? I'm like, I'll fake it.
Would you?
Well,
I think I would.
You're a dishonest bastard.
No, because if
you're a rotten bastard.
No, because
and a liar.
Comfort's a part of it.
Well, maybe they'd feel good with a hand job.
Dude, you can just.
I would.
Are you going to oblige that?
No.
Right? That's
that goes too far.
Well, I guess we all have our limits.
Yeah.
And apparently Ryan's limits are not praying and...
No, I didn't say I would pray. I don't know any fucking prayers.
Oh, you said you'd fake it.
Yeah, I'll just fucking like look down at the ground while they did their thing.
Yeah.
That's me faking it.
Oh, okay. So
like if they said pray with me, and then I'll let them do their prayer, and I'll just sit there next to them while they do it and pretend I'm praying with them or whatever.
I thought you meant if you wanted to lead it. No,
I ain't fucking.
You're just gonna. You're just gonna do the female orgasm thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd still give hand jobs.
Well, there might be a more of a legal aspect behind hand jobs, like
and prayer jobs.
Well, if they're not really, I mean, I guess. What are they gonna? Are they? I mean, they could ask, right?
Yeah, but there's usually cops around.
There's not a line item on the bill for it. It's not like you're charging them for it.
No, well, we don't charge them for anything.
I mean, they're gonna be charged fucking $30 for an aspirin. So,
but I mean, the cop might go, "Hey, You're soliciting hand
And then
jobs.
when they say, does that aspirin come with a hand job? You're like, yeah, okay.
True story.
Is that why it's so expensive?
Yeah. There was a female officer in Iraq that got busted for selling condoms.
What? Why is that bad?
Oh, because she helped you use them as well.
Oh.
Why is that bad?
Well, she got busted. And she thought there was a loophole saying, well, she wasn't selling sex. She was selling condoms for $50.
Oh, it was illegal in the country you were in?
Well, it's illegal. Prostitution's legal most places.
Oh, is that?
Especially in fucking the Middle East and on a military base.
I think that's where he's going, is that she was selling, like you could go, here in Utah, you used to be able to go to certain restaurants and you would buy quote unquote dinner and they would give you bingo cards.
Yeah.
And so you would play bingo, and if you won, you could win fabulous prizes or sometimes cash or whatever, but you never bought a bingo card, you bought dinner that just happened to come with a bingo card.
So it's trying to skirt the legal aspect of, hey, I'm a hot chick in the middle of a desert with no other women, and there's a bunch of horny fucking army guys around. Nope, fuck me for $50. We heard about this after hearing about her getting punished. No, she actually had to go fill sandbags for the rest of the deployment.
Sandbags?
Yeah.
Sandbags?
Yeah.
For the rest of the deployment.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrevolution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
What other things did you bring?
Evolution and religion often evoke strong emotional responses that can seem undeniably incompatible. Yet researchers at Arizona State University have discovered that using a short evolution teaching model focused on the perceived conflict between religion and evolution actually reduced the number of students with this perception by 50%. A big success considering that about half of all undergraduate students identify as religious.
So what, they changed the model from 1 billion years to like a few hundred years for the model of it to make
Or they
it
just
make
don't
more
give them
sense?
too much information to swallow at a time?
Yeah, that.
Okay.
A new evolution teaching module used as part of a recent study is aimed at increasing acceptance of evolution and debunking the idea that students must choose a side. So yeah, by simply avoiding the real sciencey part, they can preserve all the godbotherers' little feels.
Yeah, they're basically packaging in a way where it doesn't offend them.
Right, exactly. In a series of papers published by CBE Life Sciences Education and the American biology teacher Sarah Brownhole.
Sarah Brownhole?
Brownhole.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. It's probably Brownell or something.
Yeah.
A School of Life Sciences assistant professor, and Elizabeth Barnes, a doctoral student. Present research finds that listening more carefully to religious students and discussing religion in the biology classroom improved the students' sense of belonging in the sciences and also decreased their perceived conflict between religion and evolution. No fucking shit!
Yeah, because you're...
Of course it did, because you stopped talking about science and you started talking about their little comfy place and their little believies got all in the science class. Of course they felt comfortable.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going, oh, by the way, your religion is valid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 100% true.
Exactly right.
And guess what? So is this.
Yeah. Barnes, lead author of the study said, quote, there is growing evidence that there's a disconnect between instructors and students at public institutions in an evolution type class. No shit. For the most part, biology instructors are not religious, yet a large number of their students are. This dissimilarity becomes a problem in learning evolution, which is why we need to teach evolution in K through 12. So this gap in knowledge doesn't facilitate the God of the gaps by college age.
Hell, a fucking K through 12 kid or a kindergartner doesn't know not to eat glue yet.
Yeah,
he ain't
but
gonna fucking understand evolution.
Yeah, but we still do all the other stuff. We just don't talk about evolution except for 1 2-week period in the 11th grade. That's it. And they never say evolution. You know, they're just like, oh, there's a couple of, on to the next thing.
Have you heard about Charles Darwin?
So the first time they ever hear about it is in college, after they've had K through 12 religious training. Of course there's a conflict. Of course it makes them more comfortable when you talk about religion in a college biology class. Of course that makes sense. This study says nothing except that we need to cater to religion. No, we need to put science back in science class from K through 12 so that by the time they get to college, when they hear the word God, they say, you're a fucking idiot.
I guess the schools in Wisconsin do it right because they taught us all about Charles Darwin and all that biology and evolution and shit in fucking middle school.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember what they taught us in school here in Utah.
It was all about cell division and meiosis and mitosis and photosynthesis, all that stuff. That's all.
That was like 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah, you never hear anything about.
I don't remember them talking
human
about
evolution. Ever.
Yeah, evolution of different species or
we went through like
anything that would
Homo
upset the
sapien
apple
and
cart.
the hominids and all that shit and stuff in school.
Well, yeah, that's just speciation and
of through evolution of, man, of humankind.
I don't think I don't remember them ever using the word evolution.
No.
I remember talking about the different orders and families and
but also
and all that, but not and the different groups and shit, but not that evolution is what got all of these different things.
I also had never had God ever come up in school either, though.
I know God came up in school. I don't remember any of the teachers specifically saying anything about it.
Well, that's why when I joined the military, I was like, holy fuck, people believe this shit? I thought that was just in movies and stupid things for stupid people. Like, I didn't know people actually believed this shit.
Here's another cool one that's short.
I like cool short ones.
The Religious Brain Project at the University of Utah School of Medicine has a project that aims to use the tools of science to see if maybe there isn't something physical going on in the brain when we have a religious experience.
How can you register something non-physical going on when you can only register?
Well, perhaps there is something. I mean, if the way that, so these are clipped, right? But the main article was saying that, if there's something happening in the brain, we ought to be able to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they call it religious. We're not believing that. We're going to call it science and figure out what's actually happening here.
Yeah. What goes on in your brain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought they've already,
when you say you have a spiritual experience,
they've already done a lot of those tests where they've shown like, hey, the same things, parts of the brain that lights up when this person gets out of a concert and has that experience in that crowd is the same parts of the brain that lights up in this person that just got out of this
there's some of
church.
that.
Yeah. It's the same parts.
Yeah, in the first neurological study to come out of the group's effort, the researchers write, religious experience uniquely contributes to establishment of social systems with far-reaching consequences for pro- and antisocial behaviors. In short, their brains lit up pretty much the same as brains that are exposed to love, sex, gambling, drugs, and music. They ran the experiments several times and got the same results. Religion is an addiction.
It lights up the pleasure centers and shit.
That explains so much. Seriously, when I read this today, because I've always wondered, why do so many adults drive to church on Sundays? You don't have to be there. You don't have to go. You don't have to stay. Why do you do that?
Yeah, why do you have to be in a special building?
Yeah, what is it? They're getting their fix. They're getting their weekly fix. That's why.
Especially in 2017, we can just go on Facebook and watch it live.
It's all a ritual of it, right? Like, I mean, alcoholics, when they mix their drink, they have all the special things that they do. They use their special jigger and their glass and the ice, and they do it in a certain sequence. Or smokers, when they pack their cigarettes and they pull out the special one and they put it in their mouth and they use their special lighter. They've got all of these different things around the ritual of doing the thing that provides this pleasure.
Well, yeah, but it's more than that, because then the religious people get to walk out of having their fix and their addiction and look at the smoker and look at the drinker and say, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. You smoke, you drink, you do that, you do this. I'm doing the same thing, but it's different because society accepts it and I'm good and you're bad. So they get this additional high from that. So it's this whole thing.
The high horse.
Yeah, the high horse. Exactly. So they get the high and the high horse.
That's the asshole high.
Yeah. That's why they go every Sunday. That's why. That's why they're willing to stay there for 3 fucking hours. Because they can come out and spend the rest of the week judging us.
Makes sense.
This is all my commentary on the.
Yeah.
I'm sure the University of Utah doesn't say those things, but that's what's really fucking going on.
We've gotten to the heart of it here on the show.
Show over. Last episode. We're done.
All right.
We figured it out?
Yeah, we figured it out.
So it's not 42.
No, we have to finish the other part of the goddamn.
But we figured it all out.
No, except Bannon.
I actually still have more too, but we don't have to do that tonight.
Bannon.
So it is 42.
Bannon to the bone.
What's 42?
Oh, the answer to the universe.
Yeah.
Why?
Computer said so.
Yeah, it just is. It's just 42.
But
what?
I don't know. Did you say something about 42 that I missed? Did I miss something?
Yeah, that's your age now.
No,
I probably got the number wrong. I'm just thinking of.
Wait, are you 41?
I'm
are you
43.
43. Damn it.
The movie where they try to they go to space and the Earth is destroyed and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I wasn't going to tell you what it was. I'm like, how long will he stretch it out?
I'm thinking of it.
Nobody
oh,
tell
you
him.
didn't know?
Nobody tell him.
No, I knew I didn't know if I had the right number at first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, which number?
42. Was it 42?
Nobody tell him.
Okay. I'll go rewatch it. It's probably on Netflix. I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I like the 3-part British series better though.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The Brits don't do anything better.
Oh,
dude,
you're in America, Brian.
It's the original.
The only thing they do better
3-part miniseries of
is lose wars.
Wait, we lost wars?
You did hear Marsha's part on was it Cogdis or was it Scathing?
What? Oh, I think it was Scathing Atheist. I think it was
Scathing
Atheist. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What was a Scathing?
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's actually I like British TV better.
I do too.
Mostly, yeah.
There's
a British Hitchhikers.
Yeah. It's an older one. I think it was done in the 90s, and it was a 3-part miniseries.
Who's in it?
Actors.
Awesome. I love actors.
Yeah.
I like when they act in things.
True. I mean, that's what they're really good at. And I think in that one, the ending is completely different.
Than the book?
I never read the book. I only saw the 2 movies.
The book's pretty funny. Well, I mean, the movies are pretty funny too, but I've been watching Merlin on Netflix. British.
Merlin Olsen?
No.
Watch Black Mirror.
Yeah, I've watched most of those.
Oh, I like that show.
It's funny that
Ryan just liked the pig fucking episode.
That's the first one. I mean, it had me hooked.
I bet it did. Yeah.
Huh. All right.
We derailed this shit.
Well, I wanted to just leave it with Ryan liked the pig fucking episode. So.
Well, you can cut it.
I edit that the way over I want.
The way I want. The wherever I want.
Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We will continue the Bannon stuff next week with part 2.
Part 2,
and an update about what we have learned over the week.
Because something's going to happen.
And then a whole lot of speculation from us because, that's just kind of how we roll.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank our Patreon subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Christy, Andrew, Wesley, Utah Outcasts, Andy Faulkner, Angelica, Taylor, Grant, and Savid. You're all besties of the show. And we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. So next week, we'll do part 2 with Steve Bannon. And the week after that, I believe we have author Karen Garst on the show. And I'm working on lining up a couple other guests. One that I've wanted to have on the show for a very long time, and should be fun.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not even going to tell you anything about them. I'm going to use very generic pronouns. They are a lot of fun.
So it's more than one person.
No, you don't know that.
Well, they.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you said them or the person.
Maybe it's not a person.
We're kidding a fucking alien?
That's puppies! We've had puppies on the show.
Yeah.
No, but that's it for the thing. Goodbye. Right. Thanks for listening, and you're welcome.
Don't destroy the earth or world. Don't Bannon it.
Lift the Muslim Bannon. My teachers in elementary school used to get mad at me because I draw during class, but then I could always tell them exactly everything.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, and they didn't believe me, but then I could recite it back, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's fine, I guess.
And he does draw a mighty good dick.
Mm-hmm. I did. You know what? In 4th grade, we had closets that were like walk-in coat closets, and you turn to the side. I drew a huge-ass fucking dick on the inside with a crayon. I did do that.
That sounds like something from Transformers. Autofucks.
Autofucks, let's bone.
Yeah. That's got to be some underground, like, Japanese porno. Butt plug. You'd be just a butt plug.
But who is the real? What does that play on?
Nothing.
Oh, just butt plug.
Just one of the characters would just be a straight up butt plug. He can't do much, but a lot of people sit on him by accident.
Sounds like he wouldn't be very effective.
Well, what would happen? What would you do if you accidentally sat on a butt plug?
Not sure.
A surprise butt plug's never good.
The wiggle and giggle.
Should we clap so we can cut that whole fucking bit?
I don't care. Hey, my brain goes on tangents.
Your mic is still really hot. You keep peeking out.
I haven't. Maybe I just been talking louder.
Maybe
he
you're
just
right
can't
up on
hear
it.
himself as well.
Yeah.
'Cause didn't you have a?
Huh?
Moving on.
Thing. What's that look?
It's confusion.
Squinty Quinte. All right.
We have derailed this podcast.
Yeah, your mission is successful.
You're welcome.